Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. So, a bit of breaking news this morning about the Idaho 4 case. These four lovely young people that were murdered absolutely brutally. And, this is one of those crimes that you just think, what the hell? Because he didn't even know them. uh, to there seems to be it seems to the only motive for this crime, it seems to me, is that he just wanted to do it. He just wanted to see Bryan Kohberger, just wanted to see what it would feel like. And maybe that it's still sort of not established whether he was actually stalking any of those young people who died, how he even chose that house, etc. It's not clear. Maybe it will never become clear, because the breaking news is that Bryan Kohberger has accepted a plea deal in exchange for not receiving the death penalty. And I don't know what to think about that, because of course the death penalty, it's a contentious subject, isn't it? I'm not sure if I believe in the death penalty or not. I just can't make up my mind. But, when you have a case like this, just so brutal, so senseless, 4 lives stolen, and not only these poor people, but their families, how they've been affected. They've been trolled on social media. This twonk, Bryan Kohberger, he's got his little fan club, of Bryan Kohberger fanboys and girls who think he's great, think he didn't do it, or know he did it, but just worship him because he's a twonk, like some people worship horrible people, serial killers, etc. So I don't know how his family must feel about this. And I mean, it depends on them, uniquely and personally. Do they believe in the death penalty? Maybe they're people who believe to forgive and let him face his judgment in the next world. I mean, I do believe that. Even though he might not get the death penalty, he's going to die one day. That's as certain as anything. And then he's got a different kind of judgment to face. He won't be able to escape that. But anyway, let me know your thoughts. What do you think? Do you believe in the death penalty? Do you think for people like Bryan, this was just like a deliberate act, it seems, against people just for no reason whatsoever. It's the most senseless, just for the fun of it, just for the hell of it. He's like Ted Bundy was his hero. He's a Ted Bundy wannabe. He's a pound shop Ted Bundy because he got caught the very first time, didn't he, of course? So let's just have a look at a news item that just talks about it. Just to give us a little insight. So this is going to be a very short video. I just wanted to let you know what was happening. I mean, the trial hadn't started yet, obviously. He'll get some... I think he'll get life without parole. I can't see him getting any, I can't see it making any difference that he's pled guilty in that sense. The deal that'll have been offered is no death penalty. But, there's been nothing else. Like, he's not going to get parole or anything like that, is he? Well, I doubt it very much. So let's just have a look. And this is a case, of course, that has gripped people, because the thing is, these four young people, a couple and 2 best friends, just in their home relaxing, And I don't know what difference this will make. If he pleads guilty, I suppose there won't be a trial. So what details will come out? I think details will still come out, won't they? I just can't decide whether I think it's a good thing, because it spares the family in a way hearing the details, but maybe the family want to know the details. I certainly would want to know the details, wouldn't you? As hurtful as it might be, as traumatic as they might be, but maybe you wouldn't want the world to know the details. So you won't want the world to know how your loved ones died, maybe. So maybe that will be good for the family, but I'm sure they need to know the details themselves, just for themselves. They want to know what their loved ones' last moments were. These are just normal things. So they don't want to remember them as victims. They want to remember them for the light and the joy and the love that they brought into their life. But they will want to know the details, I would imagine, even if not now, maybe at a later date. But maybe they'll be grateful that the world isn't going to get to see the details. Anyway, let's have a look at this news item.
News: the Monroe County native accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students has accepted a plea deal. Newswatch 16 Stacey Lang is with us to explain. Stacey, what can you tell us at this hour?
Yeah, Scott, this news breaking just minutes before the beginning of this newscast. So this is the information we have so far. Bryan Kohberger, the Monroe County native, who's accused of stabbing and killing 4 University of Idaho students to death in their off-campus home in Moscow, Idaho, back in 2022. You probably have heard much about this case so far.
It's a very high-profile case, of course. 4 young people senselessly murdered. This guy's a criminology student. I think he was, well done the police for capturing him, because they got a lot of stick in the beginning. Usual thing, oh, why aren't the police doing anything? We don't know anything. Then all in the meantime, the police were investigating Bryan and finally arrested him. But, because they didn't arrest him within sort of 24 hours, there was a lot of criticism of the police. But he was always on their radar, I think, and they did well, catching him, identifying him, arresting him, and he's a really creepy guy, isn't he? I mean, he really is. Sometimes killers aren't creepy. They're like the guy next door, aren't they? Lots of killers like Dennis Rader, etc., men with families, serial killers I'm talking about. And I think Bryan was a fledgling serial killer, wasn't he? In times gone by, in the times of Dennis Rader and Ted Bundy and all, Ed Kemper, etc. It would have taken the police a lot longer to find him, but in these, thank God for DNA, because, and data and things like that, with his phone and number plate recognition cameras and door cams and things, all those things conspired to catch Bryan, things that wouldn't have been in the times of those, in what they call sometimes the golden age of serial killers in the 70s and 80s, because of these tools were not available to the police. So it's easier to catch a serial killer early on now, at least. That's a good thing. Not everything's gone to crap in the world. Some things are better. There'll always be these kind of people. The more I do true crime, I realise these people, there's just something wrong with them inside. It's not about what sort of upbringing they have. It doesn't matter, what other circumstances there are. They're just bad. Some people are just bad. I think maybe as a society, that was the other problem in the 70s and 80s. It was thought that they could be rehabilitated, and quite a lot of these killers, they were let out to kill again. Ed Kemper is a prime example. He should never have been let out after he killed his grandparents. He turned up for one psychiatric appointment with a head in his boot. He was just a total Fruit Loop. And when you hear him talking, if you've never seen the interviews with Ed Kemper, they're available on YouTube. He's a very intelligent guy. And he knew what he was doing was wrong, but he just couldn't stop doing it. How much more can someone say to you? In fact, the only reason he ever got caught, he didn't get caught. He handed himself in after he finally killed his mother and her friend. But he'd killed so many other co-ed girls before then. So Ed Kemper he's a prime example, I think, of serial killers, how they just can't stop it. It's not a choice. They don't think, I think I'll be a serial killer. It's almost like they can't help it in a way. And I'm not saying that because I feel sorry for them. I don't. But what I'm saying is they can't be rehabilitated. They can't, because they're bad. Some people are just bad. If anyone ever looked bad, this guy did. When you get a good look at his eyes, you know, I'm always fixated on eyes. God, you know, I mean, obviously you can't arrest someone just because they've got mad eyes. You know, so that's not a help in that sense. But gosh, if you ever felt like you were looking into the eyes of evil, looking into Bryan Kohberger, and I believe in evil as well. So, you know, some people are born bad, and maybe they've just got the devil in them. Sometimes it can be brought on by drink, drugs, etc. And I know it can be made worse by circumstances, but I 100% believe that if somebody's going to do some of this kind of crime, they're always going to do it, whatever background they come from. And you know, there's people, as I say many, many times, people who are dragged up, who come from terrible circumstances, who don't do this.
We've been talking about it here on Newswatch 16. It has been covered extensively in the national news. Bryan Kohberger has accepted a plea deal. ABC News has confirmed that information through a letter that was sent to the families of all four of those victims. That letter says that Bryan Kohberger will plead guilty to all of the charges against him. That includes 4 counts of first-degree murder, for which he was facing potentially the death penalty. This guilty plea, he will accept 4.
Look at him sitting there like butter won't melt in his mouth. He's thinking, probably remembering what he did. You know, he'll have that memory in his mind forever. You can't take that off him, unfortunately. Perhaps they should give him a lobotomy and then he can't remember it or something, because he's got the pleasure of going over those events in his head for the rest of his life, hasn't he? Anyway, I hope they end up haunting him, but I doubt if they will, because psychopaths don't care, do they? So, you know, he's not going to feel any remorse. He's just going to enjoy replaying it.
4 consecutive life sentences. He will agree to serve the rest of his life in prison, taking the death penalty off the table. Now, what we know now is that Kohberger is expected in court in 2 days on July 2nd to go over the terms of this plea deal. We'll learn a lot more then. There was news in this case coming out just today. Our own Emily Kress was in Monroe County Court, as 7 different people are being called from Monroe County were going to serve or testify rather in this trial in Idaho that was set to begin in about 6 weeks. We were there for those hearings today. This plea deal that we're just learning about now would now make those subpoenas null and void, and also avoids for Kohberger the death penalty, and for those victims' families the potential of going through a trial that was set to continue through at least November. So we're just learning the details of this plea deal now, Scott, so we'll have much more to talk about tonight on Newswatch 16 and tomorrow as well.
Yeah, no, at the end of the day, I think it's a good thing. I don't know. Because probably he would have, you know, in the end.
We have breaking news. The Monroe County native accused of murder.
Wouldn't he have in the end been found guilty anyway, probably, and the families would have been, you know, gone through all that hell. Let's just have a look what his actual charges were. Not that it matters now if he's accepted a plea deal. So I don't know how. So he's been charged with state felony charges, 4 counts of first-degree murder for the deaths of Zana Kernodal, 20, Ethan Chapin, 20, Madison Mogan, 21, and Goncalves, it says here, but I've got to hate that. Why? Please tell me why they use their surnames and not their first names. Do you know, it's always harder to find the names of the victims than it is the perpetrator, isn't it? Kaylee Goncalves, yeah. And in fact, let me just show this picture of them. This is what he took. This is what he took from their families, from the world, of course. You know, when these trunks do things like this, You know, these look like happy, smiley people that, you know, they were at university. They probably would have made big contribution to the world, or like, you know, likely. So yeah, Kaylee Goncalves, Maddie Mogan, Zana Kernodle, and Zana's boyfriend, Ethan Chapin. You know, so all the details are unknown of why he did it. Was he targeting one of the girls, etc.? We don't know. Will we get to know? Is he going to tell the truth anyway? I mean, you can't rely on someone like him to tell the truth. Anyway, can you? So whatever he says will be his version of the truth. But what defence could... I mean, this has happened because this man has got no defence. He's got no defence, has he? The evidence has mounted up against him. He's got absolutely no defence. He tried to say he was autistic. Oh, yeah, that was the other thing that made me mad. He tried to say he was autistic. You know, and that is a slur on people with autism. You know, this is the new thing, isn't it? That these twonks try and claim, isn't it? Autism, mental health problems, PTSD, you name it, they've had it, or, you know, abusive childhoods, or there's always a reason. But the real reason is they're just twonks. He's not autistic. Of course he's not bloody autistic. And even if he was, it's absolutely no, it's like saying, what? Oh, that's a reason. Yeah, because autistic people are murderers, are serial killers or whatever. There's millions of autistic people on the autism spectrum who just get by every day in life. You know, life is challenging for them because of their condition. But to sort of use it as a reason, you know, for murdering 4 young people, I think it's foul. Honestly, I do. I think that sort of thing should be removed. You can't use autism as an excuse, or even mental health, really, because there's lots of people with mental health issues. Everyone's got a bit of a mental health issue. You know, people getting up every morning and going to work, providing for their families, trying their very best, even though they're struggling. And then some twonk comes along and says, oh, yeah, well, yeah, I murdered my 3 children, or I murdered these people because I've got mental health issues, or I've got autism. It's disgusting. It's insulting to people who struggle with those issues every day and don't do anything. Just look at this guy's eyes. He's a Fruit Loop. You know, he hasn't got mental health issues. He's a psychopath. You might say that's a mental health issue. I don't personally think so. It's just the way he was born. Don't know what the answer is. Believe me, I'm not saying I know what the answer is. How do you identify a psychopath? You know, and what do you do if you do identify someone as a psychopath? You know, you can't just sort of put someone in prison because they might do something. Awful, isn't it? What's this guy smoking at here? This guy on this photo, he seems to be smoking at something. But anyway, so I just thought I'd give you this breaking news. And these poor people, these poor young people and their families, honestly, my heart goes out for them. I just don't know, you know, as we've said before, these are the people that have got now mental health issues, proper trauma. You know, they won't go out and murder somebody. They might murder him if they got their hands on him. But you know, these people that the families of these victims, they're going through trauma. They won't go out and do anything terrible to anybody else because of it, because they're not evil, like Bryan. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll see you soon in the next video. Till then, may your God go with you. Thank you.